Hi, Madeline Lowry, nutritional therapy practitioner and a MAP method practitioner, which is a form of advanced neural retraining. I want to talk about how we use the MAP method to help people overcome sensitivities and allergies to things like food, chemicals, electromagnetic fields, and environmental irritants like mold, pollen, pet dander, dust, etc., even medications. So I started out using a basic method of neural retraining that I call Retrain Your Brain. It's a program I still offer. And I use this to help people. Primarily, the people that were getting referred to me were people who had severe food sensitivities. Many of them were down to 12 foods or less. They really needed to expand their diets. And so it made sense for them to use this Retrain Your Brain method, which is it's a method where I teach a set of mental exercises and practices, and then my clients go home and practice these practices themselves for an hour a day for 3 to 6 months. At about 3 weeks, we usually check in and see how they're progressing. And if I feel like they aren't advancing as quickly as I expected them to, then we start to talk about whether MAP sessions might be important for them. So the MAP method can be used in conjunction with a basic method of neural retraining to get over sort of the mental blocks. In many cases, it's more cost effective for people to start with a basic method like Retrain Your Brain and then see if anything more is needed. So like I said before, 70 to 75% of my clients don't need anything else. They do very well with the Retrain Your Brain method. They're able to add back all the foods that they would like to their diet. And not only that, but they also reestablish tolerance for any chemicals or environmental irritants that were also, a factor for them. So I want to talk about a few cases here where we used the MAP method, either in conjunction with Retrain Your Brain or on its own, to help people with these kinds of allergies and sensitivities, just to give you a feeling for how the MAP method works, how individualized it is, and how by going through the process, we kind of start to, the client starts to make connections that they've never made before between different things in their lives, different things that have happened to them, or different, emotional states and their sensitivities to foods, chemicals, and other things. So case one is a woman who came to me because she had severe food sensitivities, very limited diet. She's one of those people that I was talking about, 12 foods or less, kind of in that category. And she began with my Retrain Your Brain program, and she made good progress. Then at month 4, she came back to me. She said, I'm just not able to, my progress has stopped. I just have tremendous amounts of anxiety when I go to introduce new foods. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Well, let's do a MAP session. Let's see if we can figure out what this block is and see if we can remove that for you so you can make progress again. And that's what we did. We did one session. She talked about her anxiety. She talked about the symptoms she was having with the reintroduction of new foods. And, we talked about what the main emotion was that she felt around that. And it was frustration. And when I asked her to rate the intensity, so this is a sum rating, subjective unit measure of this emotional intensity for her, from a 0 to a 10, she rated it a 10, very intense. And so we use the MAP method to start searching for this emotional signature, wherever it existed in her life, And often during rounds of treatment, people will have memories come back to them, images, they'll hear words, they will have body sensations, right? And these things are clues that the practitioner, the MAP practitioner, knows how to interpret. And these are clues that tell us how to proceed, right? So in this case, she made the connection to, the experience of being a caretaker for a family member for a number of years. And also to another experience of loss, a different family member. And we discovered that there was an association for her between a feeling of loss, grief, and a feeling of loss, and also a fear of loss, and an inability to receive nourishment from food. Now, this was what was going on for her specifically, and I think you can see how this is very specific to the specific circumstances that the person has lived through, the specific trauma experiences that they've had, and what I like to call like the mindscape, right? So as we start to work with clients through sessions and we see what comes up for them and we get the clues from the subconscious mind, we start to see how the brain is linking things together and what the blocks are that are preventing progress. And so after this one session, she reported to me that she was able to add back more foods and continue to use the Retrain Your Brain, the basic neural retraining method. Again, so she was able to move forward. And so that was, I think, a great result from one session. Another example is a woman who came to me with chemical sensitivities, pretty severe chemical sensitivities. She reported a feeling of nausea and anxiety that she rated at a level 8 out of 10, around a memory of being in a space that had air fresheners in it. And she was telling me, and this is very common with people with chemical sensitivity, she was saying, I'm just recalling the memory, but it was so visceral for her that not only is she feeling the nausea, feeling the anxiety, but she said, I can almost taste the fragrance, these air fresheners. And we went through 3 rounds of treatment in this one session. And we went through more. But after the first 3 rounds of treatment, she reported to me, as I asked her to recall the memory again, and asked her, how does it feel now? She said, I can't taste it anymore. And my nausea and anxiety have been reduced to a 0, from an 8 to a 0. 3 rounds of treatment, maybe this took 20 minutes. So that's another example of how we can work, MAP practitioners can work with you in a session to rewire the brain, to neutralize these memories so that we don't have the same reactions to them. We can disempower them. And this is often very helpful for getting at the root cause of chemical sensitivities. There was more involved in this, of course, but I don't expect that one session will be enough for someone with strong chemical sensitivities, or for example, mold sensitivities. I expect it will take a few sessions. But it's just an example of what could be accomplished with one session and how quickly the client sees the change to their own reaction. Another case that I'll mention is someone who had done the dynamic neural retraining system. So this is Annie Hopper's DNRS program a few years ago. And it had helped her greatly with mold and chemical sensitivities, but she was still having food sensitivities. Again, someone who was down to very few foods. she had a lot of physical symptoms when eating foods outside of the 8 or 10 foods that she had restricted her diet to. And there were some emotional issues. So as we started working with her, again, things start to come up. The subconscious mind starts to offer up clues. And she started to see the emotional connections to being a child and witnessing a family member fasting to lose weight and passing out, right? And so this kind of instilled, and so we worked with that and realized that there was an association there to a fear of food that was not serving her. So we have to disempower, the beliefs that she had formed at that age around food, fears of food, and the idea that food was not something enjoyable. After one session, again, this was more involved than this. I'm just trying to sum up, kind of quickly what we worked with. She reported that she was able to try more foods and that her symptoms were less, not gone, but had been reduced. And again, this is something we will work on for several sessions. Fear foods and other emotional issues around food can often take more than one session to fully resolve, but that's okay. We have the MAP method and it's very effective in a short time, but that doesn't mean that everything can be done in one session. But I hope that these examples can give you some ideas about how the MAP method is very, very individualized, very specific, very custom to the person and their life experience, right? And how by working with the subconscious mind, we can start to pull out those associations, those experiences that kind of got flagged, by our subconscious mind as very important, and that there was a lesson there that we had to, that we live out of. And once we can recognize those, that we can work with the subconscious mind as well to dispel them. And then those experiences and those beliefs, those behavior patterns, symptom patterns, right, have less of a hold on us. And so gradually we can resolve allergies and sensitivities, even when they're quite strong, quite well entrenched, and have been for years. So I hope that's helpful. Please reach out if you'd like to discuss your own situation. You can schedule a 15-minute consultation with me. We can talk about how the MAP method can help you and your allergies and sensitivities.